Okay, hi everybody. It's Karl and Harrison at Escape here, and today we're going to do Trailer Talk episode number 9. And for this one, we're joined by Jordan and Tida. Jordan and Tida have done, with their 1 and 3-year-old kids, have done an epic journey all the way through, a large part of British Columbia and all the way through up into the Yukon and bordering on the Northwest Territories. And for our friends in the US, you might want to go and have a look because it's a long journey from the border in Vancouver all the way up to the top of those provinces. We have provinces here, not states. So I jump on a map and have a quick peek, and you get a sense of the remoteness that you guys sort of went into as you did this journey with your 1 and 3-year-old kids, which is, I think, something quite epic and just a wonderful experience overall. So really hope you guys enjoy this Trailer Talk episode number 9. I think it's going to be a really interesting one. Harrison and Jordan have put together a slide deck that have got lots of photographs and videos in. So this could be one of the richest content Trailer Talk episodes that we've done so far. So Jordan and Tida, welcome, and tell us, what inspired the journey. I know you got your Escape 19 in 2020, but what I was interested in is, how you kind of flushed things out, got yourself ready in advance. Obviously, I don't know. I mean, your youngest were you pregnant at the time, or was your youngest even?
When we picked up the Escape, it was 1 month before he was born. So we had one child at the time, with number 2 on the way. We didn't really use our Escape for the first 3 months with a newborn.
Fair enough.
When he was 3 months old, he started camping, and we would just go on local trips for weekends, long weekends. And we did a few 10-day trips with him at 4 months old. So with a 2-year-old at the time and 4-month-old, and kind of worked out the kinks, would come home, reorganize, repack.
Yeah.
Our supplies with kids in mind, and adjust as we went along. And that sort of got us thinking about longer trips. One of the things that I would say to Jordan was, if we go out every weekend, it's actually more work for me to pack up every weekend to go. But if we go for 10 days or 12 days, it's the same amount of work to get out of the house with the 2 kids. So I was lobbying for a little bit of longer trips, and then I guess this sort of emerged over time.
Yeah, it's one of those things where whether you're going away for a night or you're going away for a week, you got to pack the same stuff.
Yeah. So it's the same amount of work. Yeah.
Where that's not true, though, Karl, is when you're going away for half a year, and when you're doing it with a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old, they change so much, right? So this trip that we took, Tita's took an extended maternity and parental leave with our 1-year-old, and I actually took 6 months off work as call it a parental leave. And so that created the opportunity to hit this kind of trip, and the packing's a bit tricky for 6 months because the kids change, right? We're talking about a third of our 1-year-old's life, right? So different size clothes, like my clothes are not going to change in 6 months. I don't know about you guys, we hope anyways, right? But yeah, clothes, sleeping arrangements, toys, things like that. So the packing was an adventure, but I think, to Tita's point, we wanted to do something longer, and we wanted to take advantage of what was available to us in this kind of COVID world that we're all living in. And so started in our backyard and pointed the trailer initially across the south of BC, but it didn't work, right? COVID kind of put these handcuffs on us. And so we ended up spending almost a month on Vancouver Island, stuck in the rain for most of it, which allowed us to sort of figure out how to cope with the kids and things in the rain. And then from there, south of BC, up the Rockies, and as you've said, up to the Yukon. So it was it was a real adventure and a ton of fun.
And are you guys, have you guys like trailered, camped and stuff previously? Or was this like did a little bit, or have you done a lot? What was your maybe experience level coming into this adventure?
Oh, we've done a fair bit of camping.
Mostly, pre-kids, it was backpacking, reasonably remote backpacking. With our first child, we went and thought, oh my goodness, we're going to have to figure out how this car camping stuff, camping with a big stove and a big tent. And we thought, the tent's not quite for us. We ended up buying a trailer. It was a bit of a miss. Yeah. It wasn't an escape, nice enough trailer, but just, we didn't know what we didn't know. And we learned really fast, a fridge of substantial size is essential. And counter space is essential. And we have a 19. It's not the world's biggest trailer, but it's a lot bigger than what we started with. So we sold that and then bought the 19 in early 2020. So it came with some experience and
I would say in Quinn's first 6 months of his life, he spent 33 days in the trailer. Wow. So he had some experience. We had some experience with 2 kids prior to this trip. So that was the previous summer. Yeah.
I know one of the pieces that Harrison and I talked about before this was the packing and the logistics. And that might be interesting for some of the folks watching this video. There's 2 parts to that. I think one of them is setting up the logistics of campsite choreography, we'll call it. And I flipped Harrison a photo. Maybe he'll throw it on when he does the post-production here of our setup, which was literally 5 laptop computers or iPads on our counter, tethered off 3 networks or home internet and our 2 cell phones tethered. And right when campsites opened, we had those 5 going. And we knew exactly where we wanted to camp. We had the sites picked. We had plan A, B, C, and D. Wow. And it's easy enough if you're trying to go for a weekend. But the problem in June and July and August in Canada, and I understand in the US, if you're trying to do a longer trip and make campsite A line up with campsite B and C and D, and the months roll in, it becomes a bit of an exercise. And so the tip that I would give on that front is, don't travel in June, July, and August if you don't have to. If you choose to, go to a more remote area. And if you can't do any of that, then, it's about doing your homework.
Pre-booking was key as you get into some of the more popular spots in the summer and being able to have a campsite. Oftentimes all the campsites are now 100% reservable, or they only have a few first come, first serve. Right. In which case you're lining up first thing in the morning with another row of trucks and trailers waiting and hoping that you get a spot, which is not ideal when you're packing around a 1 and 3-year-old, sitting around and waiting for a campsite for the best part of their day. So just planning that, and then of course as we moved up to the Yukon, reservations were not required, and life was a little more simpler as we were up in northern BC and the Yukon. But the first part for sure involved a lot of planning.
Yeah.
So how many sites did you have to book for their trip? How many different sites and different places were you at?
I can flip you the spreadsheet. It's it was an exercise for sure. It was June and July that really required the most kind of sequencing.
Even popular spots like in April, we were in Tofino. So to go camping in Tofino, we had a beachfront campsite, which was lovely. We actually booked that October 2nd when they opened up the reservation date for an April booking. Off season, there was potential that it could rain the whole week, and you still needed to have a reservation.
Yeah, dozens is the and then the other piece of it is just the packing and the logistics. And I often see people on the Escape forum or on your Trailer Talk videos or whatnot talking about kind of their shakedown cruise and getting things ready and whatnot. And obviously there was a fair bit of that involved. I think we packed the truck probably 8 times, building specific shelving units. Easy enough if you go for a 2-week trip, but as the months roll by, being able to pull out an inflatable paddleboard, but not have to pull out your camp stove, or pull out one mountain bike, but not the other one, or a kid's backpack or whatever, became pretty critical. And so, from a tow vehicle perspective, for those out there with kids that are picking a tow vehicle, get an F-150 or something a similar size. Don't get a Tacoma if you've got 2 little kids. And the canopy was invaluable. There's a short little time lapse that I did of one of the packing expeditions on the truck.
We'll get that up and running. And tell me, did you modify your packing as you went through your trip?
A little bit, yeah. I would say we probably purged a few things here and there, or moved it out of prime real estate, so to speak, as we realized maybe we overpacked a few things, and what would you say?
Yeah, no, we got it probably 95% right, but it was because we'd done it a lot in advance.
And to your previous question about, the summer before, spending 33 days with the kids in the trailer, thinking through a little bit of what we need and what we don't need, and kind of what's essential and not essential. And packing less is sometimes more.
And the seasons were an issue too. I mean, the first segment of our trip was longer than we expected on Vancouver Island because of COVID and limitations on travel. And
the end was in the Yukon in cold weather in August.
Yeah.
Right?
So you had to pack for pretty much everything.
We woke up to -3 a couple of times. And so we sort of had to plan for spring to early fall, all the seasons.
Yeah.
And we had 42 degrees when we were in Valemount and around Mount Robson. So there was the range of -3 to, I think said 42 or 43 on the range. So
wow.
Yeah, I mean, the start, we got way more rain than we would have liked on Vancouver Island, for sure. But in that first segment of the trip, because it wasn't plan A, it was like plan H or something as the COVID rules changed. But it actually gave us a chance to spend a month and kind of really figure out and dial in how to deal with the kids inside the trailer, which is maybe another topic if you want to explore that, Karl Harrison, that we're happy to, that there's a bit of lived experience on escaping with kids, so to speak, and especially when it's pouring rain outside. So we've
kind of, together broken the trip up into segments. And the first segment here is Vancouver Island. So obviously, like you say, it turned out to be a little bit longer than you expected. Starting in Victoria, going to Tofino, Port Hardy, and then back south to Nanaimo. And as you say, you had a lot of wet weather as you went through here. And with kids, obviously, it's easy to let them just go out and have them play outside and do that, but you can't do that when it's wet outside. So maybe tell us a little bit about how you manage, kids sleeping inside the trailer, their toys, activities, all that kind of stuff. How did you manage it for such a long period of time?
Well, some days were easier than others, I'll say that. But overall, I think with all the planning and pre-packing that we sort of thought through, there was that initial work went into making everything run smoothly before we even left. So thinking through some toys, storage, how can the kids access the toys? So we took off the cupboard of the door of the cupboard underneath the fridge so that toys were accessible to the kids anytime they wanted to have them. And there was little baskets, books, a book basket to toy basket. And then we did what is known as like a toy rotation. So most of the toys are out of sight stored. These are what they have to play with, these few toys. And then we rotate through the next set of books and toys. And it's like they have a whole new set of toys. And then maybe 2 months later, those toys come out again and they're brand new. So we often saved the toy rotation for when it was a really rainy day or a special activity that they don't see at other times. Sleeping arrangements, the boys were next to each other. Quinn was in his pack and play. Jordan made Avery a little bed next to him.
Just out of the cushions. That were, I mean, lots of kind of experimenting and things. A pack and play is just a little crib.
But it was just the cushions from the bench with a crib sheet over top of it, just to kind of offer a little protection and some blankets. And he was happy to have his little bed there. And
fantastic.
But we also weren't scared of on rainy days throwing them in muddy buddies, which are full rain gear, head to toe rain gear, and having them outside. And if there was sometimes a carrot of a coffee shop and a little muffin treat afterwards, they were quite happy to go.
And then how do you manage? We were talking about this before. How do you manage all the diapers and the dirty clothes and all this? How do you manage that while you're on the road? Because you don't have a washing machine. It's not an option.
And kids can go through clothes fast.
So that was a bit of a learning experience with the trial and error, as we were saying too. And underneath our bed, Jordan was able to store, a Costco size package of baby wipes and sleeves all under there. I think I have a picture of that too, of how we stored that. So we had a good supply of diapers with us. Clothes, not scared to just let them wear the same clothes over and over again. And you have a different definition of what's dirty and what's clean. Yeah. But there's usually an outer layer and an under layer. So they usually had clean clothes on, and then there was fleece pants or a muddy buddy, something that went over top, which usually kept their clothes pretty clean. So I
think Tida threw a post on your Facebook page while we were traveling, and I couldn't believe it. It got like 120 or something comments on it of a laundry list of some of the work that she did around padded mats on the floor and a piece of cardboard over the screen door, because, you know, just like I've read about people with dogs in trailers, a 1-year-old just tries to go right through the screen. And, you know, we had a high chair with us, right? So how does that work, right? Having kind of an indoor outdoor high chair, what are the tips there? And there's this litany of kind of items that just over time we developed to make life easier. We didn't really pop the table up. I see these wonderful pictures on the forum and Facebook and things of your escape
the dinner table
customers with all these beautiful backsplashes, and we're like just trying to hang together, figure out how to get food on. And I'm not going to say the table. It was actually we rarely made our table because of this kind of sleeping situation.
We mostly ate outside.
So it was. But when it was really awful, we'd eat inside on the floor of the trailer. And a 19 doesn't have a lot of floor space, but we had a little TV tray where the legs fold out. It sits down, and it's big enough for a 3-year-old to tuck his legs under. We're holding the 1-year-old, and we're eating and loving life. Like no better way to.
It was just cozy, and we were
connection as a family.
All close together.
Get the heater going, and one of the things we should talk about maybe is maintenance. The heater thing just triggered everybody's favorite topic is a sail switch. And which you probably hear in most videos, but yeah, I mean, look, it's super cozy, and you figure out how to make it work, rain or shine, with the little munchkins.
Yeah. And when it comes to cooking, did you kind of, I know you say you ate mostly outside. Did you also cook mostly outside, or was it a mixture based off what you did? I know you had this video.
This is apparently what is known as a light rain in Port Hardy. We've got a giant lake underneath our mat here, trying to barbecue while Tida deals with the children's inside. It's been a tough day.
In Port Hardy, and I saw you were boiling potatoes and cooking something on the barbecue. A tough day for you, but obviously you still had to cook outside.
That was one of the few times we did eat inside, and we sent Jordan out to do the cooking that night.
We cooked outside mostly. Because it was so long, and with 2 kids in a 19-foot trailer, from a space perspective, is the least amount of time you spend inside, the better. For us, that's just our style, right? We don't have a TV, things like this inside the trailer, where we don't have a lot of screen time, and so we like outside's just our modus operandi. It doesn't work for everybody, but it works for us, and so our preference is outside. And it's just way easier. We ended up with a kind of an external stove, got the quick connect port on the trailer, took the regulator off the external stove, that sort of trick, and plugged it in and used it as a griddle, a barbecue, a stove. And it's lived conveniently on the edge of the back of our truck. And we'd sometimes pull in to these spots, by a Glacier or whatever in the middle of nowhere. And we'd whip the stove out and do grilled cheese sandwiches and soup for lunch.
We've got the barbecue spot of a lifetime here at camping site. Barbecue's going, sausages, Athabasca Glacier, Columbia Ice Field.
All outside, which was, that's living. That's way better than sitting at a desk, typing away or whatever.
And it's easier to be cooking when the kids are digging with their sticks and stuff just outside, and that they're entertained with their pine cones on their sticks. And
fantastic.
Brilliant. No, I agree. I love it. I mean, I know we have the what do you call it, the flush mount in our trailer, but it only gets you, I'd say it mostly only gets used for coffee.
So this kind of moves us into segment 2 of your trip, or the leg 2 of the trip, which is all through southern BC in the Quinns. So you escaped from the island. You went from Vancouver up to Kelowna to Roslyn, Kimberley, and then you made your way into Banff. You kind of noted that there's more interesting weather. You first started seeing bears and also the biking and hiking. So tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, sure. We had a bear in Roslyn with its nose in our clean dish bin that was outside. And it wasn't night. It was 9 p.m. or something like that. Kids are more or less sleeping. Tida and I are inside the trailer on the bed.
Jordan just stepped inside. And he had been inside for maybe 2 minutes. And then we hadn't brought the clean dishes back inside yet. And all of a sudden we heard something. Jordan jumped to the window. I looked out over the bed and front paws are up on the table. Nose is in the dish bin.
It was awesome. So the bear is like, 2.5 feet from us, something like this, right? Just through the trailer glass. So
he was like, okay, there's nothing here. There's no food. It was just clean dishes, dry, like drying before we put them away. And then he just sauntered off. And
it was kind of neat. That was one of the closer. Like we had a lot of. We saw
bears.
Innumerable bears.
Was that black bear?
I was a black bear, but some really cool ones in later segments. To use Harrison's word of the trip, where we had grizzlies running through our campsite, and I shot this really neat photo of our video of grizzlies wrestling, and we saw a mom and 2 grizzly cubs that we watched for a couple hours. So lots and lots of bears over the months, but look, this first section was a chance to throw the kids on our mountain bikes, and we both had bike seats. We were able to pedal with them. We had hiking packs, and we're able to sort of get the kids into the routine where we're hiking, and that's how we spent our days. Which it
would get to the point where if we pulled out the hiking pack, our 1-year-old would get so excited because he was going on a hike and he was doing something great, and I always had to be aware and kind of remind Jordan that, they can only stay so long in the back of those packs before they need to get out. So to keep our sport safe, but they were all about getting on that bike seat or getting in the pack. They were happy as long as we were out there. And we could do 15 or 20 kilometers with the kids in the packs. And so that gives you a reasonable radius from your campsite to go for a stroll in through the mountains. And then the mountains, of course, Harrison, to your point, as we went into Banff and started kind of the next segment of our trip between Jasper and Banff in the Canadian Rockies, that was one of the probably 2 biggest highlights for me. Like we spent a month on that 350 odd kilometer zone camping, and we had some weather there too. It was chilly, 5 degrees. So we're bundling the kids and all their layers and knits and toques to go out for these or to go out for the bike ride. And if you have good snacks and good clothes, they're good to go. And hiking through the snow and we saw some awesome wildlife in the Rockies. Like if people have maybe a shorter duration and are picking a spot, hit the Canadian Rockies, avoid July and August if you can. It's unbelievable. We'll flip you a video if we haven't already, Harrison, of these 2 grizzlies running through our campsite in Jasper. That's super neat. We happen to be cooking breakfast. We're just finished breakfast. We're inside the trailer, getting suited up, right, to go out for the day's adventure. And I was outside and I popped in when I saw the bears because it's 2 or 3 year old grizzly siblings, like just outside the trailer window, and a bit spicy, but it was kind of fun. So there's a neat sort of 30-second video of that, and elk, right beside the trailer. Yeah. And I was just going to add to, I know the bears always make it a little more exciting. Was one day we had packed up and we had gone for a drive, and we were going to, I think it was Bow Lake, to go try to put the paddleboard in and go for a little paddle. And we pulled up, and the trail we were going to take to the lake to put the paddleboard in, a mom and 2 baby cubs were coming along. So we sat in the truck for 2 hours just and watched them play in the field. And instead of going for a paddleboard, we had lunch in the truck, and that ended up being the agenda of the day. Was we didn't move. We just sat there and we just watched them as they ate the berries. And it was quite exciting. And it was a very much a change of gears and plans of what we were going to do that day, but it ended up being a really lovely day. Yeah.
I guess that's part of that. That's a huge part of RVing, camping, and the experience is you just take each day as it comes and, make the most of that time. I presume your world gets very small very quickly when you're out on this type of
And the benefit of going with a trailer is for the kids, they're in the same home, in their same bed with their same things every night, even though it was 6 months of an adventure and traveling and us being in new places every few days. For them, they had their comforts with them at all times.
Yeah.
And this is something that we've got on the agenda for later. But the thing with this is that this trip was such a large portion of their lives, a half, a third, or of their lives. It's like a really large part. So they've lived just as much in the trailer as they have in their own home. And I'm sure that's that's just an amazing experience for them.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. And we as time went on, especially with our 3-year-old, we started to put him to work, right? I say that sort of with air quotes, but filling water jugs, helping wash the trailer.
He loved to help the trailer and fill the water jugs anytime we were,
or put down stabilizer jacks, and he'd be asking, geez, does this, if we got a sanding dump at this campsite, or do we need to sort of be careful, and do we need to be conserving water and this kind of thing?
Yeah.
That's awesome. And then also, sorry to interrupt you there, but then also, I believe Quinn is your younger son, right? And did he take his first steps while you were on the road as well? Or he stood for the first time?
He did take his first steps while we were out on the road, and
it's
pretty neat. I think we do have a picture with him holding a card saying, I stood for the first time today, and he took his first steps while we were out there as well. Yeah, with that length of time, he had a lot of firsts in the trailer and on the road. And
he's one of the few people who's eaten dirt from all over northern BC. Yukon. I can convince you. He can tell you about the different taste of pine cones in various locales.
Good for his immune system.
In northwestern Canada for sure. Another one that just cracks me up, and I wish we had a video, but is Avery, our 3-year-old, helping me back up the trailer, right? After a while on the road, you start to kind of get the hang of backing up a trailer. It takes a bit of practice.
How did he reach the pedals? That's what I want to try and figure out.
Well, no,
it's a long way down for a kid.
He's out, and he's obviously in a safe spot. And Tita's outside, but he'll start directing because he's watching what Tita's doing.
Oh, of course.
So he'll start directing, and then a 3-year-old, very few kind of governors. So he'll be, if we're in a campsite with other people, he'll go over and he'll help talk too, right? And he's providing, no, stop there, and he's pointing out branches to watch for and trees and banks.
As the neighboring couple is doing their, backyard, and we're trying to pull them away, so give them some space,
In about 2 or 3 years, you're going to have a camp master. They'll just you'll just park up at the camp and say, all right, go take care of everything, pack up, and we'll be ready when you're ready.
Well, no, he'll throw the stabilizer jacks down. And anyway, all fun. But, that was all part of the kind of that segment of the trip was starting to get our groove, right?
Building the routines.
And then the next segment was really turning the steering wheel northward. And that's where it started to get
remote.
More remote. That's the right word, right? More of an adventure. No cell signal for much of the trip. Spicier driving conditions, I'll say, that kind of stuff, but also the dividends in terms of the landscapes, the fewer people, throwing away the spreadsheet, Harrison, of all the campsite bookings, right? And that you were mentioning, and having the flexibility to explore back roads and stay as long as we wanted before we turned the wheel, which is the real benefit, I think, of being that far north.
Yeah, definitely a benefit of being in northern BC, and the Yukon is not having to have, like Jordan was saying, the spreadsheet and have it all planned out, and being able to be a little more spontaneous and stay longer if we're enjoying it, or move on if weather changes, or we get a good tip of the next place to move on to, which was often the case. As you're in one place and you start to talk to fellow campers, they're usually saying, oh, well, if you're heading north, here's a good place to stop for lunch. Right. Here's a campsite that's not going to be on any of the maps, but if you take this road, here's a good spot. And sometimes we would check it out on the way up, and, to see if it would make sense for when we were heading back south.
Did you get any flats on your trailer?
Not on the trailer.
Not on the trailer. No, I mean, we were well practiced in changing tires. You're not calling the Automobile Association to come and help you out, so you better be able to deal with it yourself. We had a flat on the Dempster Highway, which is the gravel road that leads north up to the Arctic Ocean. In the truck. But most people are carrying 2 full-size spares on that particular highway for their truck, 2 full-size spares for the trailer.
Wow. Okay.
But yeah, we were lucky. No issues at all. A few brake adjustments and things, but nothing outside of preventative maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know how much time we have, but I got to talk about the Yukon, Harrison. If I can jump segments, is that okay? Because like this was the other highlight, the Rockies in the Yukon. At least for me, I don't know if you.
No, I agree.
That was super neat. We spent lots of time just exploring as many of the roads in the Yukon as time and sort of trailer capacity and children's temperaments would allow. But it amounted to many weeks up there, tootling along various roads, and seeing some pretty unique landscapes and wildlife that at least for me were totally new, like bison on the side of the road. And
I see that photograph. That's wonderful.
Have you? Yeah. It's just neat stuff, right? That you wouldn't otherwise see. The permafrost is really cool, and this tundra landscape when you get north of the tree line is fantastic. The long days, like it's I can't say enough about going up to the Yukon and touring.
I think we spent about 6 nights in Tombstone National Park up on the Dempster Highway there, and the kids loved walking around and playing in the tundra, just in the campsite out the door. And it was,
that's awesome.
They had a great time pretending that they were going on a hike and, watching Quinn trying to take his first steps in the tundra and falling over because it's spongy and squishy. And,
wonderful.
Yeah, it was just really lovely experience.
And how far up did you get?
Northwise? You mean
Dempster,
Dempster? Yeah. We ended up north of the Arctic Circle.
So the Northwest Territories.
Yeah, in the Northwest Territories, the COVID said, that's enough, folks. Turn around. They'd set up a barrier there and weren't allowing people in, unfortunately. So that's as far as we went, but it's a ways. It's within a few hundred kilometers of the Arctic Ocean. So you kind of run out of road fairly quickly thereafter.
We did leave the trailer in Tombstone National Park, so that was as far north as we took the trailer, and then we just went in the truck and we stayed one night at the Eagle Plains Hotel up on the highway, and then came back to our trailer after that.
Probably worth mentioning on that Dempster Highway. A lot of people talk on the forum and other spots around should you take your trailer?
We debated that.
Yeah, for sure. I would have loved to. And as Tida said, we brought the trailer 70 odd kilometers, which doesn't sound far, but it
was slow going.
It was
it was slow. Yeah.
Yeah. When the rains hit, the highway it's built on top of permafrost. And so the construction crews, when it was built, just dump a bunch of whatever top fill they can find on top of the permafrost to keep it from thawing in the summer. And so the highway changes as you're driving on it. Obviously it's gravel, but it's not like nice road-based gravel. And so when it rains, you can get this 3-inch kind of bit of mud. And there were times when we were 4-wheel drifting on there and things. And it's just not trailer friendly. The joke is the right trailer to take up the Dempster Highway is somebody else's. And I think there's probably some truth to that. So, so we stopped a day's pull up the Dempster and then unhitched and left the trailer for a number of days. Another bit of this sort of northern segment is the bugs. And thank goodness the trailers come with screens. Right?
For me, it was the first time that I had experienced that. Jordan grew up a little more northern BC, and So he had experienced that a little bit growing up, but it was my first experience with bugs. The you
real
can't
bugs
hide without being
Real bugs. Yeah.
being attacked. We have one picture of Quinn where his face almost looks like he has the chicken pox because he wasn't outside very long, but he just got covered in bug bites. So we very quickly learned that to go outside, we needed to have the bug nets and the Gore-Tex gear on. Luckily, temperatures were such that it allowed you to be in a jacket and to be covered, and you weren't
because it was cold enough.
You weren't sweating too much. In the high teens, you can still wear your jacket.
And then the trailer also got covered in bugs. We've got a photo of that as well. How did you manage
that one? Did I have I mean that shot? I know the one you mean was just. It was relatively clean, quick wash sort of thing, and driving for an hour and just plastered, right? And as Tida says, the bug nets were critical, but staying inside's just not an option. But the bugs were harder to deal with in the rain.
I would agree. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, all part of the adventure, right? Of traveling northward.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So then you went southward after that. So went back down the Dempster Highway. And you make your way through Prince Rupert, Port Hardy, Victoria. So tell us about that trip back down.
I got the Prince Rupert ferry. That must have been interesting.
Mm-hmm. That was a pretty neat experience. Yeah. Something that we had sort of talked about taking the ferry. We weren't really sure. Should we take, in our initial planning, should we take it on the way up? Should we take it on the way back? We decided we'd sort of hold off. We'll kind of see how it goes. Because of course that last part of the trip was a little more spontaneous with less of the pre-planning. But then what we did learn is that ferry needs a reservation. So that is one thing that you do need to plan, preferably months in advance. We probably booked maybe a month and a half out from our time home. We decided that would be the way we would like to go. And our options were limited on sailings and days. So another tip for that would be to, plan that piece well in advance, but such a beautiful, beautiful ride. We lucked out. I mean, it was a little, gray and misty, but so beautiful, calm waters. And also splurge, which I think it was an extra $100 or something that we paid for the cabin, just a place. It's a 16, 17-hour ferry ride. So to have a place with 2 beds and a bathroom and a shower, the boys could have their naps. It was well worth it. But beautiful views and
it was cool.
We even saw some whales and. Yeah, definitely. If you're going north, either heading south or north, take the ferry if you can between at least once in your life. Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. And then back home and trying to figure out how to transition back into the real world of working and things and getting the trailer ship shape and that sort of piece of the puzzle was what was left.
Tell us, how did the trailer hold up? And of course, I'm sure you mentioned a little bit, you had a little bit of maintenance on the road, but when you got home, was there anything you needed to do, or was it pretty much all good?
We put, I think, a little over 16,000 K on it. So bearings for sure, which, are sort of every 10,000 kilometers, is the roughly recommended exercise there. A pretty detailed wash and wax and clean of the awning, which
awning, trailer, inside, outside,
which actually was days, right? To get things back up to the right level. And then maybe a little bit of other aspects, Harrison. One example would be some rust prevention paint. A lot of gravel roads on this particular trip, and so inevitably there were chips on the frame and that sort of thing. So spraying that with kind of rust paint after doing the prep was a piece of the puzzle. I'd say probably 3 days of work.
But most of that is preventative maintenance. So
I think that's right. I mean, things held together great. We had a few cleanings of the sail switch, which thank goodness for the new design and being able to pull that thing out pretty quickly on the outside. To answer your question, no,
it held up really well.
Very little maintenance, very few issues. new trailer too. That helps, right? I think we're still in our 2-year warranty period for another couple of months. So
like, the hinge on the bathroom door needed a little tightening or a little screw change, but minor little things.
Yeah.
Mostly it was just cleaning and regular maintenance.
And having some base level of handiness is helpful and expected, right? As stuff wobbles loose and things. So yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Well, it's a real testament that you took it out for such a long time, and then on those dicier roads, on the Dempster Highway, and really used it to its fullest. It just shows that it held up over time, which is fantastic.
And putting a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old, it also held up to them as well.
Yeah. And they are screens and cupboards, and I mean, we
get a little nervous as they're pulling at stuff, but everything survived.
Yeah, thank goodness. Yeah.
Fantastic. So we've kind of got some final questions here for you as you wrap this up. First one is, would you do it again?
Yes.
You bet. You
Easy
bet.
one.
Absolutely. If you guys need some test ambassadors and you don't mind negotiating with my boss to get another 6 months off, I'll get tomorrow. But
it definitely has its challenges and it has its moments, but overall 100%. Yeah.
Fantastic.
We are already thinking, what
Are you?
Can we do it again? How could we do it again? What would that look like? It's
not easy, right? It really isn't. It's definitely not all the sort of social media smiles and photos, right? It's anybody who's got 1 and 3 or had 1 and 3-year-olds know that alone is a reasonable amount of work. And anybody who's been on a long road trip knows that alone is a reasonable amount of work. And we stupidly decided to combine the two. But would we do it again? Yeah, I think so. The rewards are pretty high.
And we sort of had this mantra too of, when they're having a tough 1-year-old or 3-year-old moment, it's tough at home. It's tough here. So it's tough wherever you go. You could be at home in your living room and it can be tough, or we can be, on the Dempster Highway hiking in the tundra and it can be a tough moment. And most of the time, those moments were pretty easy when we were out hiking and doing the activities. So we always kind of had that in the back of our head is once we get out there, it might be the prep of getting kids geared up and organized and snacks packed. But once we're out there, things were usually good.
Yeah, the kids are happier outside. And frankly, so is dad.
Okay, everybody, listen, thanks very much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you very much, Jordan and Tida. I think it's been a wonderful experience. We really look forward to meeting you in person again sometime. I think that's a wrap. Don't forget, everybody, we're a skate trailer and we're
built for you.
Perfect. Bang on.